quarterfinal, I would say. Like there were some spicy picks. Like we gotta keep in mind that right around that time it was when the Udyr actually got his rework and it was pretty fresh. And I feel like it might have had some impact to the games we actually witnessed around that time. It was fair. It was fairly cool in my opinion how they actually played it out. It was I would say 2-0 in a fairly dominant fashion, and I've gotta stop actually talking that much about them because right here we actually have one of the players from the opposing side. Yeah,
It's fine. It's fine. I can say
uh,
about the game was actually a really interesting pick, the Odin, and he just pulled it off. Even a few days of rework of him, we did was just a really good pick in my opinion, and we didn't respect. Just simple as that. But he played really well. The team overall.
yeah, I feel like
Well,
he actually showed up a lot, even though it's a fairly new pick overall. As I said, I don't think actually a lot of players had enough time to adapt for it. But that game aside, it was fairly interesting either way. We did not have too much information regarding AEV overall, so I'm really surprised, and I would really like to see how they actually put up against ORO, which in my opinion are showed a pretty strong performance last time around, and I feel like they're close to somewhat the crowd's favorite from what I've seen, like through the poll that was held on Twitter. So I'm fairly curious to how this game is actually gonna go. From what I heard, teams are almost ready for the draft right now. So what are your expectations, or what do you think that they're gonna be picking? Like, what are gonna be priority picks overall?
so basically on the teams we're gonna have the Blackouts. That's just a OTP player. He plays a really good. He's really good with Swain, so that's probably should be a priority ban. But still, even then, he's good with other champions, so it's not like just one champion and he doesn't know how to play. We have a really good from top sides of Oro. We have the Riven pick. We have the Shen that he could pick, for example. They have the AAV has to really be careful about the bans they're gonna do because all of them play really good champions and really strong champions to play with it. Uh, I don't know what much to say about AEV because I didn't see that much of the games.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
yeah,
wanted. I unfortunately we do not have enough time. We gotta be getting into the draft as
yes.
I heard the players are ready, and I'm actually expecting a fairly interesting best of three right now. I'm expecting some spicy picks, and I'm really curious whether most of the OTPs are actually gonna go through like the Swin, as you said, like the Shen, the Riven, maybe even considering that they actually have shown some strong performances on those lanes overall, and we're popping off already with an Ari ban, as it seems, and a Draven, like pretty standard bans overall, I would say. Like, and players are in a rush, as it seems. I haven't seen this fast of a banning phase so far. I I've as I can tell, there has been some preparation when it comes to this ban phase overall. We do see the Lee Sin ban. I haven't seen a lot of Lee Sins, to be honest, right now in competitive, but it's probably something that he favors to have in his solo queue games. Maybe there were some showings during the group stage, and this might be a first pick Mordekaiser already.
That, that's so greedy, to be honest. God, yeah, there he
Damn.
is. There he is, the counter pick. That's so greedy thinking that this game will be really interesting about this stuffs. Uh, like you said, banning Lee Sin is we have two options because because Lee Sin has a really good. He's like a jack of all trades. He can do whatever you want on the team.
Yeah,
But
he's got a pretty adaptable gameplay overall.
yes, speaking of interesting picks, there's Udyr Jorvan picking here.
Yeah, from what I can tell, this might be already set up draft. It might have been from one of the sites, from what I can tell, considering that it's a fairly fast draft and it doesn't really bother too much about uh, Okay, so apparently this is, as I said, this is already done draft, and the picks weren't done in this order exactly. So, uh, okay, never mind. So we are not gonna go too much into detail regarding that, but uh, so far I really like how they've actually approached both sides. I'm expecting that there's probably gonna be hyper carry on. Okay, so basically there is the Kog'Maw on Oro's side, uh, and Azeri on the other hand. Okay, that's fairly spicy, I would say. And I feel like actually the Kog'Maw was probably like second pick as an answer maybe into the Zeri, considering that she's slightly weaker when it comes to laning phase. And yeah, Kog'Maw, Lulu obviously like are fairly annoying to lane against. Like they're one of those champions where I can just straight up dictate the laning phase rather easy. Uh, they have a decent transition to mid and late game, but you've got to keep in mind that they're one of those duo that actually require a lot of frontline in front of them, a lot of resources. They need to be safe at the whole time, and that's where actually the Zillion comes in and helps to some degree. It gives you some additional mobility. It does have the ultimate to actually just straight up get him out of sticky situations. If he gets into one of them, you gotta keep in mind they do have a Jarvan either way. So yeah,
Basically, about the teams, so what I can tell is like the ORO picks are a really offensive team. They really just want to straight up go in, and I really prefer their draft over the AEV because there's a lot of counter picks here. For example, I think gonna be really hard to deal with that Olaf and the Kog'Maw because even sure Jarvan can jump on the enemy team, but they have a Lulu, they have a Kog'Maw. Like Kog'Maw gonna shred everyone. Mordekaiser, if ults the Kog'Maw, is not Kog'Maw is trapped, is the Mordekaiser. The Mordekaiser will be really like I don't know what Mordekaiser is gonna do this game. Probably only ulting Udyr, and all depends on if Udyr press E again.
well, I feel like he's mostly gonna be looking to just straight up get rid of one of the frontliners overall and just straight up get it, make it slightly harder for the Kog'Maw to dish out consistent damage. But enough about that. We are already seeing what it seems to be like invade in the tribush for the Oro team right now. So, and we already see an answer from AEV. They're trying to get some information for themselves, at least ward the red buff for the opposing team. And to be
Yes.
honest, given that Oro actually has a fairly strong level 1, and you've got to keep in mind that Jarvan is one of the weaker level 1 champions, considering that he doesn't really have a lot to do with just having his E as a starting skill. He might actually have um, some hard time to deal with late invades, but apparently Oro doesn't really opt out to go for those late invades.
Yeah, they just go for a standard gameplay. Like they just check some wards, put wards there, check where they're gonna start, and then just start the game like fairly clean. So the Jarvan started top sides, so he probably gonna path to bot side. But like you said, even if Oro wants to invade, they're gonna just straight up counter invade on the top side, I think.
Yeah,
Jarvan level 1 is really weak because he can do nothing, and level 2 he is strong, but Oro level 1 they could just invade because their level 1 are way much stronger.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Overall, I really like the respect from both sides. You've got to keep in mind that this is a best of three, so uh, they're gonna they're gonna dip their feet in the water a little bit, see how it goes. They're not gonna go too strong straight up. They're pretty much respecting their opponents right now. They're gonna try to get a feel of how things go, and afterwards, I feel like we're gonna be seeing slightly spicier things, maybe in the second game and potentially maybe even third game if it gets to that. But so far, nothing out of the ordinary. Just straight up, both teams playing fairly safe. We're probably gonna see constant pressure from the Azir, considering that he's a pretty strong laner, and he has pretty much like I would say range advantage against most of the meta picks right now. Even though I would not say that Zillion is a meta pick right now, but Yeah, he's pretty much okay, especially in this kind of scenario. But we do already see the Jarvan ganking mid lane, but he does. He's a little bit short off of the flag and drag to pick off the Zillion there.
He didn't want to force the flash, like he just tried to hit without burning his own flash. So for the next thing it should be easy. But I don't agree with your opinion about Zillion. I think Zill is like, sure you don't have that much pressure on early game, but after some points, like Zill is really strong. He disrupt and the movement speed he gives and the ultimate makes this game really hard for the AAV because they all want to fight on that Olaf and Kog'Maw, and Zill can just press R and speed them up. Like
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
besides Olaf, Jarvan has ult Olaf and then get out of his ultimate because it's the only way that they can stop the Olaf. Olaf gonna be unstoppable this game, and we're gonna see a interesting dive on Mordekaiser. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, you
So
gotta keep in
Mordekaiser
mind
is
that
tanking
he.
and is a 1-for-1.
Oh, that
Uh,
was fairly unfortunate, I would say, considering that the Mordekaiser didn't really have a flash already. They probably could have played it slightly more patient and just straight up have the Udyr tank most of the third shots and just straight up pull off afterwards, uh considering that the Olaf didn't really have that ghost right there. So I
Yes,
feel
was
like
the Olaf taking and not Odir, so that was a mistake, but it's still really good trade because even 1-for-1, Mordekaiser lost a lot of resources there, a lot of the farm that
yeah,
he
for
used to
sure.
get.
For sure. He really lost a lot of XP right there. Even though the Olaf didn't really get the kill, it's still enough to just straight up deny XP from the opposing laner. Right now, we do see the Udyr already picking up the pace and ganking bottom. They're already in a fairly bad position. He's
Yumi got
stunning
stunned.
both of them. This is probably gonna be just a kill on the Yumi, considering that
Yes.
the what's she called? Oh my god. Considering that the Zeri just straight up jumped over the wall, but Yumi got stunned, so she couldn't really jump back to the Zeri right there. So it was kind of unfortunate, but yeah, I feel like the Wither actually got a pretty good timing for that gank as well. So he's already with a 2-0 lead over the Jarvan. The Jarvan hasn't really done too much in the early game, and you're somewhat expecting him to do stuff during the early game, considering that he's fairly strong in that phase, but he's already eyeballing the bottom. He might be looking for a gank there, but you've got to keep in mind that there is not a lot of setup for this gank overall. We do
It's
see the Lulu fairly low on mana.
they're gonna
Can
have
he
a
actually manage
flash.
to?
Let's see if he predicts. Yes, he does. He
Okay, so
predicts
he
with a flash.
he predicts the flash right there. The Kog'Maw is forced to flash as well. He just barely gets out. Dude is here to answer maybe, but I feel like it's too late and maybe even too greedy to go for anything aside from that.
Yes, like they just got what they want. They burned two flashes on that, and Jarvan just protected the Lulu flash. Did a really
Wait,
good
we are
job.
already seeing aggression on the top side again, and this might be, as it seems,
Wait, Olaf want to
another
be
kill
finished.
on.
Mordekaiser can ultimate him if he wants. Let's see how this is
Yeah,
gonna
but
be. Okay,
he.
they just respect each other. They just
Yeah, I
respect each
feel like
other.
he used his shield, so I would not consider like straight up going for aggressive ulti right there. And he wasn't. I feel like he wasn't really sure on the cooldown of the ignite, and he was just a little bit shy from being up again, which was kind of unfortunate for the Olaf, I would say. But he's fairly
Wait,
going fairly aggressive, and I feel like this is probably a
yeah, it's a 1v1.
straightforward
Yes.
kill. Yeah, it's a solo bolo right there, and he's already playing the top lane in a fairly dominant fashion, like something you would be expecting from the Olaf already.
Yes, basically the matchup is really terrible for Mordekaiser because Olaf just if he wants to, okay, I wanna go in, he just go in. Like Mordekaiser can do anything. He gets out damage. If Olaf's ultimates, he can't ult back. So it's like one dimension lane. It's like Mordekaiser will not play no matter what. Doesn't matter. Only depends if the ultimate finish. That was the time that Mordekaiser
Wait,
could
this is a
go.
fairly
Wait,
close to what it seems another kill for the Olaf.
Olaf.
He managed to pick up the Jarvan. He was.
He has
Did you
ghost. He
see
can
that?
run. He gonna run. Wait,
Yeah,
Azir is coming.
but
Azir is coming.
yeah, I feel like he actually had information from one of his teammates that Azir was following up on his whole aggression, and is he actually gonna end up with a execute? I'm not sure where it's.
No, he's
It
not.
was. I feel like it was like maybe 5 seconds off of an execute right there. Regardless, I feel like this is really good for the Olaf to just straight up set up a tempo for top lane, and this is what it seems like a statement for the Oro team. Like they're not really afraid of the opposing team, and we already see the bot lane playing fairly aggressive despite their HP states right now. You've got to keep in mind that that Kog'Maw can dish out a lot of damage, even though he's somewhat half HP, I would say.
They basically have the beach minion, and very before 6 is like not even he's not almost a champion because her damage is like really weak. And Kog'Maw is just Kog'Maw. Like if the moment Lulu just press E on him, damage and max HP damage is really high. They have to respect that. The Zeri
Yeah, for sure, for
about that.
sure.
So at mid lane we're not gonna see much. Like all depends on wave states because only the ganks that could be is like Jarvan going for the ult on EQ on him. But besides that, he can't do much.
Yeah, as we can see, we have the Udyr straight up trying to help out the Zillion push out the wave. I don't feel like the Zillion really bothers too much whether he's gonna lose some CS. Overall, he's one of those champions that pretty much scales well, even with mediocre resources overall. And I would say that the Udyr just straight up can funnel those resources fairly well. It can help him out, speed up even further the game. You've got to keep in mind that he's playing with 2 kills right now, and he's already at the Herald. As it seems, he's looking to speed up the game even further right now.
They have the priority. Like they don't have the mid lane, but they have Olaf, and the Olaf can just make all the pressure that he needs. And he knows Jarvan was not he's on bot side. That's why they start the Herald. But like you said, Zill is like is that a character that with that comp he's not a carry. He gonna be like the utility support there. Simple as that. They gonna just press the he gonna press E and press ultimate and just let the team do whatever they want.
Yeah. And here we actually have the Herald pickup for the Udyr. You've got to keep in mind that overall, even though Kog'Maw is an AD carry, he does deal mixed damage, so it doesn't really bother them too much. Plus, the Udyr actually does mixed damage as well. It's probably gonna go uh, into
They don't have
AP build.
flash.
We
Yeah,
already see a fairly good setup. They do have information of the Kog'Maw flash. He's still flashless. He's probably gonna have his flag and drag fairly soon up, and they end up giving double kill for the Zeri. It seems like a fairly good answer so far.
pretty cool play by EAV. Oh, that's a pause. They got separated. It was like Jarvan on Lulu and Kog'Maw versus Veri and Yumi. And even see there, like in a 1v2 and the Burning Exhausted heal, Zeri has to run out because Kog'Maw damage is really insane. People think like Kog'Maw can be that great on early game, and but basically Kog'Maw does a lot of damage if you give him that time to basic attack.
Yeah,
So
overall, I feel like the biggest problem with the bot lane right there was even though they were playing fairly aggressive and they didn't really have enough information to just straight up keep playing as they were. Like overall, if you uh, have such a state on that lane, you might at least wanna have some vision around yourself, considering that you're the primary carry and you are actually fairly dependent on Summoner Leon to survive those Jarvan ganks, considering that he can just straight up put you and keep you stacked up there for a fairly long time to have the Zeri just do her stuff. And yeah, and they were just straight up punished accordingly. They've got to be slightly careful uh, for the later stages of the game. Even though I would say that Kog'Maw already is in a fairly good state, he's still gonna be able to pressure that lane because Zeri straight up requires a lot of resources, a lot of XP, items, etc., etc.
yes. So basically, what happened was right now the top lane from ORO just DC. We are waiting to see if they're gonna how much time we're gonna wait here and talk, and we're gonna be paused. So yeah, we don't know at least reasons. But wait, he's already back actually. Will not wait that much. So basically about the Kog'Maw, like you said, that's a really far. Oh, there's already a fight. That's a
No,
replay. Okay.
that's the replay. That's basically the
Okay.
replay from the previous fight.
Okay.
And we already
So
see aggression on the top side, like the Olaf still tries to pressure that lane constantly. I'm really curious to where the Udyr is actually gonna funnel that Herald, whether it's gonna
yes.
be into the Kog'Maw just to straight up put some pressure on that turret, maybe even start moving him around the map. And
It's interesting that Zeri is actually winning really hard on the farming state. Like Kog'Maw lost like a really big wave right now, and Zeri is winning by almost 40 CS ahead. Kog'Maw gonna be behind a little bit.
yeah,
Uh,
considering that there was actually a fairly long fight, it had enough time to crash a whole wave, or I think it was wave and a half towards the Zeri. And the Zeri actually pushed another wave back in. So yeah, it was maybe about 15 to 20 CS loss net
yeah.
value in that whole fight. And alongside that, he actually did die, and it gave another advantage to the opposing side. So he's fairly behind, as it seems, from that whole fight right now. It
Wait,
was
we
a
have a
fairly
fight
good
top
punish.
side. Fight on
And
top side.
we
He
already
flashed.
see a flash from the Mordekaiser. He does have shield there, so he can just straight up pull back safely. You've got to keep in mind that the Olaf actually used both of his summoners. And okay, he basically just pulls back right now, and I feel like the Mordekaiser is fairly safe considering that he can just straight up back off and TP back in the lane, but the Olaf actually has enough time to straight up feel around with the opposing top side jungle, but he doesn't really go for that blue buff because he's not sure of the Jarvan position right now. Fairly respectful from his side.
So like you said, like you saw the matchup, like Olaf just pressed Ghost when he was flinching, but just wanted to go in because that's basically the matchup. Matchup is really hard to deal with him. Like Mordekaiser just has to respect him. Simple as that. And in my opinion, Olaf could actually invade that blue for one specific reason. The Drake tower is already up. He could already steal Eagle. Like Jarvan has to make a decision: lose top sides or go to Drake, and go to Drake or giving the Drake and getting the top side.
Yeah, I
So
feel
he could
like
actually
he
do that.
can't really do that right now, considering that the Mordekaiser can actually go for a short trade and just straight up TP back, considering that he does have a summoner advantage right now. And as we can already see, AEV doesn't really opt out to fight for this Drake. Given the late states, I would just straight up consider giving it up. We actually have a Dumar Drake secured for AEV,
Yes.
and this is what it seems that it's gonna be like a Infernal Drake game, and we already see the Udyr actually using the Herald for mid lane as the first turret for them right now, and I feel like it's, even though it's not a resource that goes into one of the important carries, but overall it opens the map and lets them play slightly more aggressive, because once you open up that mid lane, and it's one of the harder lanes to actually take care of, considering that the opposing team actually has a zero on mid lane. So I feel like it's a pretty good answer, and it's gonna enable the Zillion to actually start moving around the map. Maybe try to help out the Kog'Maw, accelerate his lead. Maybe even try to speed up the Olaf. Just start playing slightly aggressive in opposing jungle. Just try to punish the Jarvan even further if possible, because you've got to keep in mind that this Udyr is having such a huge lead right now, and I feel like that lead is actually gonna keep snowballing considering the current state of the game.
Yeah, so basically, like, Udyr is really strong, but they give the Drake because we already can see that Zeri has already one item, and Kog'Maw is, like, just a half of him. So they just respect and don't want to give the Zeri more leads, because sure, the Udyr is fed, but they have 3 carries there and 1 lockdown on Udyr. Like, they can't just... They don't have that much damage besides the Udyr there. And
Yeah,
Udyr,
for sure,
oh,
for sure. We
they're
already
ready
see our
for a fight.
ultimate. We already see ultimate from the Yumi right there. Azir
We're
is in
gonna
a
see
fairly
a
good
dive?
position, but his team is not in a position to actually follow up on this whole aggression, and he ends up just getting picked off right there.
Yes, they
Uh,
have a Jarvan. They just should just wait for the minion to crash and then trying to for a dive, but not that much. Like he just
yeah, you.
kinda got excited on the stuff and the pressure, so he just jumped right in and tried to fight.
Yeah,
And
I
then
feel
we're gonna
like.
see a fight on what sides probably with Zillion.
Yeah, you've got to keep in mind that this Sudhir is fairly fast right now. He can probably get close and actually manage to pick somebody off, but they were just a little bit shy of picking them off right there. And we do see a solo Bolo on top lane again.
Yes.
This Olaf is making a statement on top lane, as I already said. He's probably gonna get a few plays for himself right now. Actually, never mind. There are no plays right now.
Right now,
Yeah.
Top is good. He's making his pressure that he can because sadly as it is, if Olaf tries to 1v2 that Mordekaiser and Jarvan, he can actually do it. Like it's beyond strong right now. He has already Trinity Force. Every time he gets low, he attacks more, and they don't have the resistance besides Mordekaiser a bit because of the armor boots. They just can't straight up counter or do anything about Olaf. Olaf right now gonna be a really big problem for the EAV to deal with because they can't just 1v1 him. Like Olaf can actually, if he kind of wants to, he's not eating in by any means, but kind of restricts the team a bit. He can buy a whole break this game and just ignore the Mordekaiser and push in front of his face.
Yeah, we
Because
do see a
Mordekaiser
lot of
don't-
aggression from the Zeri. She actually flashes into the Kog'Maw and she takes a lot of damage. Is she actually gonna fall? She falls fairly low, but can she actually manage to get the final kill? She's fairly close to actually dropping the... Oh, she gets one kill. Can she actually get another kill? She's fairly close to picking up the Kog'Maw as well, and it ends up in a double kill for the Zeri. She's
Real well
actually...
played.
She's getting a lot big for her team, and she's probably gonna be the stopping force for her teammates. I don't know where they're gonna be able to actually deal with her overall when it comes to the mid game, considering that she's there's not really gonna be all that much pickup for her overall, considering that on the other team there is straight up just on Udyr that pretty much has to flash, or like, you've got to keep in mind he doesn't really have a flash, so it's gonna be a really hard game for Dudir to stick around and just straight up pick her off.
Particular fight's gonna be like, in my opinion, gonna be the front. If the front lines fall of EAV, they just can't deal with the team because sure Zeri can kite, but the moment that Zeri ultimate runs out, is kind of dumb. Zeri doesn't do that much damage and can't kite well. And the same thing goes go for the Oro because if the Ols go to the fights and lost, wait,
We already see the Kog'Maw picked off.
Real well
This
played
is-
by Azir.
This is fairly bad for ORO right now. I'm not sure whether they're going to be able to secure this Drake right now, but we do see the Olaf playing fairly aggressive. He's already eyeballing the Mordekaiser once again. I'm not sure, but they might actually look to fight this one off. Maybe just because of the Olaf state, but
They can actually fight. They're,
Yeah.
The Oris are just respecting. They know they have a 4v5, all of them have ult, like, he just can't deal with it. Everyone has ult besides the Azir, so
Yeah,
Olaf right
overall,
now
the
without
biggest-
ultimate is not a problem.
Yeah, overall the biggest problem is if the Mordekaiser actually gets the Olaf out of the fight, it's just straight up Udyr that tries to fight off like 4 people right there, which it's not really all that easy in my opinion. So I feel like it was a fairly good answer to the given situation, just straight up. Nothing to force right now. We already see the Zeri in a fairly bad state, but she's just straight up gonna jump over the wall, and we do see a TP from the Azir. He tries to negate the pressure from Dudy right there.
We see a lot of stuffs getting used to it, like Zeri got ultimates, so doing Zeri things, just jumping over the walls and go pop the ghost. Udyr go pop the ghost too, so his pressure on the fight's gonna be kinda limited because the CC they have is gonna be really massive for the to play with.
We already see a TP from the Zillion. He's most likely trying to get pressure in the opposing jungler right now. He's mostly trying to set up for this Baron. They can actually do it fairly fast, but with the opposing team right there, I'm not sure whether they're gonna be able to start it off like straight up when it spawns.
I don't think they can, because right now the fights, they can try, but doing a 50-50 is not their worth, and I really don't know how gonna be the fights, because Zeri on one side is really strong, but Olaf has already Death Dance. He has the second item, and he has
We already see the
two-way
Olaf
shutters.
doing a lot of damage to the Jarvan. If he actually falls, this might be Baron, to be honest. They've got to be really careful to how they actually approach this Baron fight. They're already with a player off, and
They just have to
they don't
respect
really
it.
have... Yeah, I feel like they have to respect it. If they manage to pick somebody off, it's gotta be the Kog'Maw from the Mordekaiser. If he can actually manage to ulti him, and
Olaf is going in,
okay.
straight up going in. He's on a 1v3. Can Zillion pick the ultimate? He ults. Okay, that's a lot of ultimates. And Mordekaiser still has ult. Keep that in mind. Is he getting ult? No, he's
Yeah,
not.
he
He's not.
actually
Olaf
manages
is
to do a lot
not
of damage.
strong.
He gets ulted from the Lulu. It actually
Zeri,
ends up
Zeri, look Zeri, look Zeri.
Zeri actually does a lot of damage right there. She was in such a perfect state right there. She actually has her ulti right up now as well. She actually keeps chasing, and is she actually gonna
They
pick up this Zillion as well?
no,
This
almost. This is a really disaster fight for ORO. They just overextend that. Like they should just the moment that they burn that much stuffs and of ultimates and summoners, they just should just go Drake. There's no point of going in. Like they got the perfect opportunity to Zeri to smurf that fight. Really good. So really nice comeback from AAV on that fight. I have to say this fight was just a Zeri moment. Just Zeri moment.
I feel like the
Because
biggest
Zeri
problem was
versus him fight is bad.
actually just straight up the Olaf going into 5 people for no reason. Even though he hit pretty much like all of the support he needed to do a lot of pressure right there. But the biggest problem is you can't really keep fighting from that point on because yeah, you do burn the Zillion ulti, you do have a support from the Lulu, but you're still fighting against 5 people. Like the moment he actually got close to them, he should have just straight up backed off and tried to play with his team, considering that the opposing team didn't really have a jungler, and he already dealt a lot of damage in that initial engage.
I agree with you. The fight should be like going Olaf just go in. The moment he got Zillion ult and died, he just go back because they burn Azir was without ultimate and Zonius. They already burned two ultimates there. Was Azir without ult and Yume. Like there's no point to fighting again. And especially because Olaf already lost the ultimate, Lulu lost the ultimate there, and the Zillion.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
there's no reason for it.
I feel like they're in a slight setback right now. So they gotta be careful to how they actually approach the game from this point on. Because right now, this area is on 7 kills. And she's really close to even getting the Infinity Edge right now, which is gonna be a huge power spike for her.
I really want to. We could ask if we can see the difference between gold of. Oh, there's already a fight over here. Udyr is straight go in. And there's the Olaf thing that I said, that Olaf just get ultimate from Jarvan. Udyr is just non-stop here. Like, Zilly is just popping off here. Zilly is perma giving buffs to Udyr and Udyr just running down to them.
Yeah, I feel like this has been such a messy fight. And overall, the Udyr had so much to do in the backline. He could have straight up just did whatever he wanted. Like after that initial bad position from the Azir, he just straight up kept steamrolling, and he could have done straight up whatever he wanted in that situation. That was
Yeah.
a perfect scenario for ORO to actually swing back the lead in their favor and just straight up get an inhibitor for themselves. They might even look for something more, but considering that the Drake is up right now, they're just straight up gonna opt out for the Drake and uh, just straight up use the lead that they accumulated for themselves in that previous fight. That was by far the perfect scenario they could have gotten.
Yes, like they finally did what their comp was supposed to be. They're just straight up go in and do whatever they want, but S5, not just 1v5. And that's the scenario on top side. Because Azir was so far away from them, they don't have the Azir ultimate to back off. And
Right, the
Jarvan goes for
Jarvan
the
is a
50-50.
fairly
No, he's
tried
not.
to
He lost.
50-50, but I'm not sure whether he should have tried to do that right now, because even though if he gets the even if he somehow manages to actually secure the team Infernal Drake, was I feel like it wasn't really gonna help out all that much, considering that you are most likely just straight up giving up your life for such a scenario.
He just tried because Jarvan doesn't have that much gold, because he's 1-4-3, he doesn't give them much gold, so... And because they will just farm for now, because there's nothing to do, there's no objective, the inhibitor is destroyed. So going for that is not that high risk, high reward, because it was just like low risk, high reward. If we get it, was really nice, because Java doesn't give that much gold on them. So basically right now, it's just like a really gonna be a really interesting game, because I don't know how they're gonna stop them. If the ORO plays correctly as 5v5 without like none, with one so far away from the others, this fight gonna be really hard to win.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like they're gonna have such a hard time to actually deal with this Sudir that has been wreaking havoc in the backline of AEV. He's just straight up been unstoppable. Plus, you've got to keep in mind that this Olaf is doing constant damage and this Kokma hasn't been touched in the previous fight overall. Like in a straight up like front to back scenarios, I feel like this Kog'Maw is never gonna get touched. Like I don't think anybody's actually gonna get in a position to actually just straight up kill him off. And even if they jump, he does have the Zillion, he does have the Lulu to straight up buy enough time for him and just straight up swing the tides of the whole team fights right now.
And the Kog'Maw going to be especially problematic right now because he has already 2 items. He got already Ginz and Bork. But their problem is not the Kog'Maw, it's the front line because they can't deal with it. Simple as that. Like the only way they can stop it, they engage is Jarvan ultimate the Olaf and getting out, and then Mordekaiser ulting the Udyr so they can be a 4v4 only to be Olaf in front of them. If they can't fight that in the 4v4 fight, they just can't fight this.
We see
Like
the
ORO
Kog'Maw
is
in a
really
fairly
strong.
weird position right now. They're already pinging him right now. They're considering some sort of an engage, as it seems, but the Azir is kind of in a bad position right now. So I'm not sure whether they're gonna go through with it. But you actually see the same scenario from the previous Baron fight and Baron setup. Actually, we already see the Olaf just straight up going back into the backline. He's trying to pick off the Zeri. She's actually out of the fight right now, but
Kog'Maw got ultimate.
we do see the Mordekaiser fighting off the Kog'Maw. He actually managed to kill him off. And this actually ends up into a 3-5 right now. The Mordekaiser is doing a lot of work right now. And this actually seems like a 4-for-nothing, or actually 4-for-1 for the side of AEV, and this is gonna be a Baron. This was a disaster fight for the red team.
This is a
Oh,
really nice fight because they isolated Olaf from the rest of the team because that Jarvan ultimate was really good. They block all the entries from that side and the team couldn't even play with Olaf. The only thing that could have happened there was just Zilno ultimate the Olaf, but Olaf was so far away that even when he spawns, he can't do much. Mordekaiser just flash into the Kog'Maw because Kog'Maw is really big threat, and Kog'Maw is not as strong right now for to deal with Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser, for now they can fight Kog'Maw, but Kog'Maw after getting his 3 and 4 items, he just can't deal with Kog'Maw. But it was really well played by EAV. Like they saw the comeback on that fight and just pick it up and snowball that fight really easily. And they got the
yeah,
Baron 2 there. That was really worth it for EAV right now.
yeah. I feel like ORO has to be slightly careful to how they actually play out this Olaf pick, because even though he's really ahead right now, I feel like he's got to be really careful to how he actually approaches the fights, because so far just straight up going alone into the backline hasn't been it for about 2 fights right now. So he maybe has to switch up a little bit and maybe try to fight front to back instead of just straight up engaging, because right now they do have really decent peel for the Kog'Maw, which they aren't really utilizing to some extent. Like the moment this Kog'Maw actually dies, it's just straight up disaster scenario for ORO, from what I can tell.
They're gonna
And
trade the Drake for the inhibitor right now. They are just tipping it. They don't want them to finish the game right now. They could if they want. It's gonna be a 4v5 fight, I think.
yeah,
No,
you've got to keep in
no,
mind that they've got better under call. So I feel
cancel the
like they're
base.
fairly safe.
He canceled the base so they can trade because they can't push that much fight. The problem is like Ori are just fighting not in always in the weird spots because they have to keep in mind that EAV has really good terrain ultimates from AZ ultimate and Jarvan. That if they
We already see a lot of
ultimate,
damage dealt to the Java. He falls fairly low, and can this Azir actually keep playing aggressive right there? We do see the Zeri in a fairly good position. Is she actually
really messed up here. I don't
is
think they
she
could.
actually gonna manage to get close to them and start doing damage? But unfortunately, the opposing team actually has a zillion, so they can just straight up get out of this sticky situation. We do see the Kog'Maw already on his own in the mid lane, just straight up trying to push in the wave, and he's gonna secure himself a juicy blue buff right there as a consolation prize to his fairly decent position, which which enabled him to get some more resources, some very needed resources for himself right now. And he's already
Uh,
opting out to go for some magic resist right now, which is gonna be a Vitsend in this scenario, I assume.
yeah, it's gonna be the Winston because they on the enemy team. Sure, they have the Jarvan, but Zeri is like a kind of when she ults is a mix AD and AP because her ultimate does AP damage when she basic attacks. So basically their comp is really heavy on AP team right now. So with Sand right now gonna be really massive and gonna make the difference between if Mordekaiser ults him, he can 1v1 or not. Because that
Yeah, for
magic
sure.
resist extra, it doesn't look like much, but versus Juggernauts like Mordekaiser does a lot of
Yeah,
things.
you've got to keep in mind that it actually adds up some utility to the Kog'Maw as well. Like it adds up some mobility. He can just straight up maybe even try to kite around the Mordekaiser a little bit, just enough so he can actually get out of the ultimate safely. But we do see the Kog'Maw already playing fairly aggressive right up. The Mordecai is already looking to maybe ult him, but he's fairly low already, and he ends up getting picked off right there. But the
That's the
biggest
power
problem
of
is,
going in. That's the problem of their comp. Like the Lulu just rallies and Zillion ultimate. They just Mordekaiser if he doesn't insta ultimate and
but there
wait
is
for
actually
it
a
to come
huge
back,
problem
they
right
can't.
now. They're completely losing both side waves. They're not really gonna get anything from this Mordekaiser kill. Like overall, I feel like if they actually managed to fix the waves before doing anything, they probably would have gotten like another inhibitor for themselves right now. And
Right now,
there's
there's no way, there's no need to go that the mid lane that hard because they only got the Mordekaiser and they can just easily fight. Zeri is really strong. I wanted to ask, Zeri is already almost full builds actually. She has already 4 items, but keep in mind, Kog'Maw has 3. He's still scaling up, and he already has 3 items. He's gonna be a really big problem to AAV to deal with it.
yeah, I feel
Uh,
like in the late game he's gonna be fairly strong. He's gonna be doing a lot of stuff. He's gonna be enabled. He's got everything to actually just straight up play in the face of the opponents and just straight up do whatever he wants. But
there's a fight of Udyr. They are already straight up going in. Jarvan ultimates on Udyr, locking him down.
we do see the Olaf already doing the same scenario as the previous time. But this time around, the Jarvan actually falls. He's able to pull back. The Zeri in the end actually manages to straight up pick up the Lulu. Then the Kog'Maw actually falls as well. And this is probably gonna be another kill for AEV. Like, you've got to keep in mind that the Udyr is in a fairly bad position. The Zeri still actually tries to get close to him, but never mind. It's Udyr. He actually just gained about 600 movement speed right there, and he just straight up slivered
Well,
away from that whole fight right there.
Victor G strats, baby. You just press and just go whatever he wants. You just run out like he wants it. Uh, this fight was quite interesting because EAV played well by isolating the character, the picks, but I don't know what happened to Kog'Maw to get pick off like that, and Lulu. I don't know
I
what
feel
happened. I
like the
didn't see
moment
it.
I feel like the moment actually the Olaf got in the Zillion ulti, he just straight up like the front line from AEV could have done whatever they wanted overall, and that was by far the biggest problem. Like the moment this Olaf actually dies, just straight up disaster for the ORO team. Like you've got to be slightly more preserved to actually how you approach the team fights overall, and we already see AEV in a fairly good position for this Drake. And if they actually manage to secure this Drake, it's gonna be so good for them, considering that it's an infernal Drake.
They straight up starting and rushing it. They can't deal with it. They can't touch
Yeah,
in
Udyr
time.
is not
They
even
got
in a good position for that whole fight. He was so late with the back timer right there, and they just straight up securing infernal soul for them.
keep in mind, these three infernals for getting Yumi and Azir. Like right now, the fights are like all depends on the front lines. If ORO kills their front line, the AAV front line, but they are low HP, then he can just snowball all the fights right now because she gonna stack all the ultimate on them right now. I don't know how they gonna approach this. This fight gonna be. I think this fight gonna be the decisive one because it's gonna be the Baron. Let's see. Jarvis getting the position. Right now he's seeing where the ORO are
You gotta
going.
keep in mind that ORO actually decided to give up full pressure on mid lane, and they're instead trying to push in the top turret. maybe just straight up try to get some pressure in there before they actually start fighting. But the biggest problem is they do leave a huge flank for themselves like that, and we already see the Kog'Maw starting to do a
Oh, more
lot of
damage.
damage to the Jarvan. But you've got to keep in mind they're completely isolated, and Lulu actually falls, but they do end up getting the Azir for themselves. The Kog'Maw is alone in the backline, I guess. Whole team of AEV, and this actually ends up for another kill for the AEV team, and this is probably gonna be Baron, but the Zeri keeps playing fairly aggressive. She's actually straight up in the front lane right now, but they don't have enough damage to deal with AEV right now, and this might be game from this point. Like, you gotta keep in mind that they have huge death timers right now, but instead they just straight up opt out for the Baron instead. Like, okay, that's fairly interesting. I really like the respect from them right now.
That was really well played by Azir there. Like, he saw the opportunity that said, oh, the Kog'Maw and the Lulu are really isolated in that scenario. Then they just can't straight up run out. They have to always go in, and he got the pick off on the Lulu there. And like I said on Kog'Maw, Kog'Maw has 4 items. You saw how much damage he did to Jarvan and the Azir. Like, Kog'Maw straight up just melted them right now. Kog'Maw had already had his killings. He's
Yeah,
really a problem right now.
I feel like the biggest problem is just him straight up just being in a bad position with Lulu. Even though there were he had his like uh support with him just to get him out of a bad position, but it's not enough if you are straight up cut off from your team like that.
Yes, Kog'Maw right now they have to play around Kog'Maw because Kog'Maw has already 4 items. So he can just right now he's gonna be the carry because the game just drags so long that Kog'Maw got the items again, and Olaf's right now is just falling off. And for actually I'm watching the bit. Oh, there's a
Uh,
Jarvan ultimate on Udyr. They're gonna get pick
Udyr
off
is
there. Can they
Udyr
kill
is
them?
a fairly bad spot already, and he's already dead. This series doing a lot of damage. He's already in the face of the Kog'Maw, and he's probably gonna fall right now. But the Kog'Maw actually does a lot of damage, but Zilean is already dead. The Lulu is dead. Kog'Maw is dead, and this is actually fairly close to a clean sweep. And it's only the Olaf standing right now. I'm not fairly sure whether this Olaf is gonna be able to stop the stampeding from AEV.
Well,
They're
before
already
he
galloping
couldn't,
to
so
end
not
this
anymore.
game. Yeah, they're
Yeah, they're gonna
already
straight up
galloping to
for the
end this
win.
game.
Was a
Yeah,
really good game by EAV. Was a good comeback. Talking about the top lane, the Olaf was really strong, but the EAV capitalized the victory on the Zeri because Zeri was really strong. The Zeri got the kills, they got a lot of farm. They couldn't just touch the Zeri because
yeah.
they are just so focused on the backside. They Kog'Maw just couldn't skill, couldn't attack that much. Like the team was always like one there and the other on the other side of the map. On the fights were all split up because Olaf was always going that much, being that confident.
Yeah,
But
the
it was
biggest
really well
problem
played.
overall, in my opinion, was just straight up the way they actually approached the whole fights overall, in my opinion, especially when it came to the first Baron. I feel like the resources the Zeri actually got were huge for that point of the game. Like, the moment she actually got a Baron for herself and got like 1 or 2 kills, I can't really recall what the scenario was. It was just straight up game over for ORO right there. Like, they kept getting good positions for each and every fight, and it was just so hard to actually deal with the Zeri. It was so hard for the Udyr to actually get into the backline and maybe just straight up disrupt the Zeri from doing constant damage for her team. Like, the biggest problem is, yeah, you've got a lot of beefy frontline, but that beefy frontline, if it doesn't actually have enough damage from the backline, it's just not it.
The problem is like that fight was like probably the we have to say well played to EAV because they capitalized that snowball effect because that in my opinion that fight on Bear was like the game changing because the fight if because Dara got a Baron and probably 3 kills there. Like they burned so much stuff because the Olaf lead was just straight up go away after that fight because Zeri got all the fight and the Zeri was the carry. So the moment that Zeri was dead ahead and Kog'Maw couldn't do that much damage because they didn't let the Kog'Maw scale.
I-
Kog'Maw was straight up behind so much.
yeah,
Like the game was like 2k 2k golds in lead, something like that, on the middle of the game. But Zeri was so far away was so higher gold, so much gold on Kog'Maw that I tried to ask to producer to see the gold, but was always perma fighting the people, so we couldn't see it.
Yeah, I feel like overall, you've got to keep in mind that this Olaf actually didn't really manage to just straight up transition his lead out of the early game. Like his laning phase was phenomenal overall. He did manage to get a lot of resources for himself, but he didn't really end up doing all that much in the team fights. I feel like their approach overall was fairly better when it comes to the mid fights. And even though they were playing fairly good, I would say like I don't feel like ORO are just straight up out of the run right now. I already expecting like a fairly interesting best of three for sure. Well, what's your expectation for the next two games? Potential next two games actually.
I really don't know. I don't think they're gonna ban. I think the ban gonna be exact the same because all of the top lane from ORO has really strong side characters. For example, Riven can fight. All that they have all of that you can see that he could pick a lead really nicely. All depends on the bot lane bans because Xerath there is a really big problem. For example, for the Udyr, but there is a lot of bans that they can do. Let's see. We have to see about the second game. All
Yeah, for
depends on
sure.
that.
I'm already expecting a fairly interesting second game for sure. Like, even though, as I said, even though Oro lost this game, I don't think they're out of the run. Maybe they're gonna try to switch up things a little bit on bot lane. Maybe they're gonna have a slightly different approach and maybe go for something more standard, in my opinion. Maybe go for a Sivir this time around. Even I can't really recall whether she was banned this game around.
I think they didn't ban it because they ban Aatrox, the EAV ban Aatrox, Ari, and Swain, I think, and the others ban I think it was Wong, and I forgot the other two, but Sivir was still open that game. Sivir
Yeah, yeah, for
was
sure.
open.
But I feel like they were just straight up trying to put up pace for the bot lane with the Kog'Maw Lulu, but it actually ended up just straight up completely going in the opposing team side. But yeah, it was a fairly interesting approach. But anyhow, I it did not end up working in their favor. I and the Jarvan actually managed to get a lot of ganks there, so you've got to keep it in mind. Keep that in mind.
Yes, like this game was all beyond the moment the lead was really nice by topside, but the moment the Kog'Maw was there was really far ahead and the Kog'Maw was really behind. They just like sure the Olaf got the lead, but Zeri scales. Olaf doesn't,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that
for
was
sure.
the problem.
Yeah. And with that, we are gonna go for a short pause, and we are gonna be back for the second game around. Stay tuned.
Hey everyone, and welcome to HOFL 2022, your favorite League of Legends tournament. The month-long event will have teams showcase their power through two divisions, crowning two HOFL champions. Let's take a closer look at this year's tournament format. Teams are divided by pools depending on their overall ELO rating. Each pool will be drafted into two groups. For more information on the seeding system, please head over to the HOFL's website. During the group stage, teams will play against each other in single round robin within their group. The top 3 teams will be drawn into the second stage, while those finishing 4th and 5th will get one less shot to progress by facing each other in a best of 3 series. Knockouts will see the remaining 8 teams fight through a single elimination bracket consisting of best of 3 matches, fighting for their spot in the finals. Hey, we're excited to have you with us. Now, the real question is, will you go the distance? Don't forget, all informations will
am strong enough. Am I not breaking? Or use your patience till barriers start to fall? Fight my demons till they're not breathing. Be with me through it all. The reason I'm no longer bleeding is you. Deep underwater, still breathing for you. Give you my heart until I'm black and blue. I'll be your shelter while I need is you. Honestly, I'm still reaching for you. Show me you love me and I'll pull you through. Give me your heart until you're black and blue. You'll be my shelter, all I need is you.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. An alarm has been activated. Please remain calm and stand by near the speakers for further instructions.
And we are back for the second game from ORO against AEV. We already saw a fairly interesting game, as it seems, for the first one around. The AEV actually managed to secure like 1 point for themselves, and they're fairly close to winning this best of three semi-final. But are we actually gonna see a straight up a two games best of three? Just straight up in a fairly dominant fashion. Like I'm fairly curious to how things are actually gonna go for the second and the potentially third game. What are your thoughts from after seeing this first game?
I think folks, I don't have like a favorite team right now because the both teams show they can deserve the win from some sides. All depends if they capitalize the victory because, for example, the Oro won the top side but lost the bot side and vice versa. So all depends. Like both teams get their win con, but one capitalizes better on the other. Simple as
Yeah,
that.
yeah, for sure. I feel like even though they ended up losing the game, it was a fairly close game, and it was just straight up them making like mistakes instead of the opposing team just straight up making strong plays. They were just straight up answering to the from Oro just straight up making constant mistakes. Like they weren't really the initiators of the whole fights overall. Like I feel like that was by far the biggest problem. Maybe they're gonna try to switch up things a little bit. Maybe they're gonna try to approach the bot lane slightly different. Maybe they're gonna try to go for something different on the top lane. But aside from that, we don't really have too much time to actually talk about that. We're gonna get straight into the draft, as it seems the both teams are ready and already have an idea to how they're gonna approach the draft. Maybe they had some time to actually think about the problems they had during the first game, and we already see a Yumi bin, which was, I would say, fairly strong pick for the AEV team. She just straight up enabled the Yumi in that in those whole fights. Like I feel like the Yumi was not the Yumi, the Zeri was straight up unkillable.
Like the Yumi just enables that really much really hard, sorry, because like her ultimate makes the Udyr unplayable. Like the moment that if Udyr doesn't time up the ED like properly, it just get solved by her ultimate. And we already see a Draven ban from Oru, a Renata ban from AAV, and a Zeri ban. They already switched so much the draft right now. They really respect the enemy bot lane right now. So
Okay,
they kind of cut off some skilling, and we see a ban on Udyr there. They already respect it.
yeah, I feel like Dodir was actually doing his job fairly well, and we already see a potential severe first pick, unless they actually manage to switch it up a little bit. Or, but yeah, actually, severe
And
is
yes,
one of those picks that doesn't really reveal all that much and can just straight up work in
and
a lot of team comps. And
we see
this,
a Mumu. That's probably gonna be the support because support from Mumu is really strong right now. But
yeah, I was
it's a
thinking,
Mumu versus Sivir.
yeah, I was thinking it might be a Mumu Kalista, because you've got to keep in mind that even though Sivir to some extent can actually negate one stun, but you got to keep in mind the Mumu actually has like 2 bandage tosses right now, and he can be fairly sticky with the glacial augment on the Sivir. So even though it's to some extent okay for the Sivir, but she's got to be fairly careful if they actually have a fairly aggressive bot lane. But right now they don't really have an extremely aggressive bot lane, considering that they do have an affiliate. And we already see Silas and Diana picked for the Oro team, which is fairly interesting in my opinion.
Right now they pick Stylus because they countered already some ultimates because they wanted Diana, and they probably want some more ultimate potential fighters. So the Stylus already steals the Akali ultimate is really good for him. A Mumu ultimate is a game-changing ult. And like you said, sure, Amumu has a lot of the 2 banner tosses and the ultimate, but keep in mind, in fights, it's not that easy to him to catch the Sivir there.
Yeah,
It's
for
really hard.
sure.
Like Sivir can ult. If Sivir predicts his ultimate, he can just press E and Sivir just is out of the fight. Like Sivir can do whatever he wants.
Yeah,
She
for
wants.
sure, for sure. But overall, I feel like the Salas is a fairly strong. I would say second phase pick. Not second phase, but second stage. Yeah, second phase pick. Never mind. I kind of got mixed up there a little bit. He's fairly strong to be picked as B2, B3, maybe even. He doesn't really reveal all that much. He's fairly strong in most of the meta picks on mid lane right now, and
And
he's
we
probably
see a
gonna be
Rengar.
laned up. Yeah,
We
that's
see a Rengar
fairly,
right there. That's
that's
really
fairly
interesting right
interesting.
now.
Yeah, I feel like he still might be flexed to some extent, but I'm not sure how he actually goes into the Riven. But I'm gonna assume that he's gonna be straight up just playing jungle right now. But we are gonna leave it to the last pick to actually reveal that whole mystery right there. And we do see the
Yes.
Brom paired up with the Siri, which is a fairly good answer into the Mumu. He can just straight up.
Oh,
do
there's a
whatever.
counter pick. They are doomed. EC if they pick this. They won the
Okay.
game straight up.
Okay, I think
They
they're
won the
playing with
game.
our hearts. They are playing with our hearts right now. I'm
They're gonna
I-
change it.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so Gragas is a fairly good answer, fairly good safe pick into the Riven, and he's gonna be able to straight up disrupt her the whole time. He can just straight up maybe even set up for ganks for the Rengar. He's gonna be if he doesn't actually lose the lane, he's gonna be outvaluing the Riven by a lot, in my opinion. I feel like as I said, if he plays correctly, it's gonna be so hard for the Riven to actually play the game correctly. Overall, he does set up to some disengage for the affiliates, which is fairly needed. He can follow up on the aggression of Amumu, etc., etc. But overall, I feel like both teams have actually drafted fairly skirmish heavy, which is fairly interesting for me, and I'm really curious to how bloody this game is gonna be because we would like to have a fairly spicy second game, and we are already getting into the game. Like both teams are ready. They're looking for ORO are just straight up looking for revenge, and just they're gonna try to keep this game alive. And both teams are actually approaching the game at the same pace, but they're at the completely opposite side of the map. Both teams are trying to do similar things right there. They're already set up the Riven trying to jump over the wall. She can potentially pick off somebody, but there's nobody there. There's completely nobody there.
Yes, they both have 1v1 really strong because, but to ORO is slightly advantage because they have the advantage of the Adri because he's playing already with Braum, and Braum is really good for 1v1s. And they keep that in mind that, oh, this gonna be a trap, probably. But
Yeah,
by the way,
let's-
what's your opinion about the draft? Do you think what's your favorite draft here?
well, I would say considering the whole scenario, I'm not sure whether this Rengar is gonna be a good answer overall. Yeah, he can be a strong pick, but I feel like he's mostly a solo queue pick. But I don't know. I feel like it might be slightly ORO favored just because of the jungle matchup, but nothing aside from that.
In my opinion, like ORO has a really besides Gragas, that Gragas gonna be a key part of the EAV to win because DNA has no counterplay there. Like besides Gragas, and Gragas can block a lot of them, but if Gragas not ahead, like or that tanky build, like if Gragas doesn't play properly with his E and his ultimate, Diana and Riven can just straight up go in. They have nothing almost to fight this.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like overall AV's team requires more execution, requires a lot more resources. But overall, on the other side, Oro, I feel like is just straight up comfortable with almost anything, even ahead. Like,
Wait, we're
obviously,
gonna
like,
see probably a fight there on jungle
Yeah.
level 2. No?
we already see a trade on bottom. The Mumu's in a fairly good position, and he already does a lot of damage to the Sivir. Sivir ends up dying level 1. This is so bad for Oro. That's a huge pick off for the Aphelios right there, and we do see the Diana dying as respect to the Rengar, considering that the Rengar was already in a fairly good position to actually follow up on her, but she does not end up losing her her buffs, if I'm not mistaken, just because she got executed, or maybe I'm mistaken. Okay. Some league mechanics knowledge lacking right there, but okay. Uh,
But basically, keep that in mind. Rengar leaves one chicken, one raptor on the one side, and Diana just got double off, sure, but one of the camps gonna be really delayed here. Like, in my opinion, I think they pick Rengar because Rengar actually can deal with Diana in the 1v1 scenario, but I'm actually curious, what's the reason he picks Electrocut, like, on Rengar, in my opinion? I
feel
don't
like
think he can't go Assassin this game. Assassin here is really hard. I think God Rengar should be his go-to because the Braum and they have a CV, they have a Braum, they have Riven, all of them can just stop him.
we don't have enough time to talk about that. The Mumos was already eyeballing the Silas, but unfortunately he didn't really have a clear shot on the bandage toss, so he just straight up decides to back off. We do see concentrates, and okay, the Silas is dropping fairly low, but there is no ignite on the Akali, so he can't really get all that much from it right there. So he just straight up she just straight up backs off safely right there.
But it's gonna be just a chilling game, like people gonna be farming. We're gonna see like the anticlimactic top side is like Riven gonna try to farm or engage, and Dragon just said nope, will not. Trust, bro. Like the game gonna be like that. If but because ORO top laner Riven mines can just deal with every matchup. Every matchup is just an even matchup. Because
Yeah,
Riven
sure.
is that strong. Riven is really strong right now. In my
Yeah, you
opinion.
gotta keep in mind that whenever you are a one trick to one champion, you're mostly like familiar with most of the matchups, considering that you've invested so much time. So I feel like it's slightly easier to approach the laning phase as such instead of just straight up somebody who's occasionally played with, let's say, Gragas into Riven, but we don't really have time to talk about that. We do see the Riven trading constantly on top side, and Dragon is forced to back off, considering that he doesn't really have all that much mana right there, and he still does have TP, but we're gonna see TP advantage for the Riven, which might actually end up hurting the Gragas later on.
Yes, because right now Riven is constantly making pressure on Gragas, because sure Gragas can just stop her engage, but he has mana, Riven doesn't. And right now we can see that Gragas, because he wants to stay on lane, in shorter
But
duration,
you
because
see
by
potential collide from both of the junglers.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the Rengar is too far away from Riven to fight. To Diana, sorry. Right now I'm gonna see how gonna be the Drake's fights. That's my question right now.
Yeah, I feel
Yes.
like if AV are first ones to get into the Drake pit, I feel like ORO are actually gonna have a hard time actually controlling the river. So I'm not sure whether they're gonna opt out to fight for most of the for the first few Drakes, unless they're, as I said, the first ones to be there.
Yes, because they have the Amumu ultimate, and Amumu is really ultimate game changing there. So all depends on how the fights are gonna be, because Braum is a
Yeah,
really hard counter for the enemy team.
We
in
do
my
see
opinion.
the Diana in a fairly decent flank for the top lane, but you gotta keep in mind that the Gragas actually has ulti and ways to pull out of this whole bad scenario and fairly bad position for himself. Like, the wave is already pushing towards the Riven, and there's like two waves stacking already right there, and he's kind of zoned off from the Riven, and just the Diana showing off there was enough to put him in a fairly defensive state overall. We do see the Mumu already back to the mid lane again. With the thing is, he's just straight up pairing up with the Ringer fairly well, and he just does whatever he wants. Even though this Aphelios is on his own on bottom, there is close to no pressure on him whatsoever, and he just straight up soaking up solo experience. He's already level 6 at 7.5 minutes. We do see some aggression on the top side, and the Dragus is already forced to flash, but the Riven ends up getting the kill just by a little bit. I feel like he was like 20 or 30 HP short of surviving right there.
But we both said, like Riven can just deal with all the matchups because Riven is OTP Riven, and Riven has the versatility.
But we do see the
versatility
Rengar
to
in a
fight.
fairly bad situation. But Diana misses her ulti.
Does he survive? Wait, the minions? The minions?
I think he's all.
And he
I think
survives.
was.
He actually survives.
He was
actually-
about 10 or 15 HP right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was fairly safe. I feel like.
No, the Doran's shield value, the regen from Doran's shield, I think.
Yeah,
he
I think it
survived.
was. I think it was Doran Shield for sure. Doran Shield plus some. Actually, he didn't have a pot up. Never mind. He didn't have a pot up right there. So it was just straight up Doran Shield value. So guys,
Yes.
make sure to buy Doran Shield. It's gonna help you with dives.
Right now we can see about the builds that Rengar is actually going for the probably Umbral Blade because he's really good for the vision, and Rengar is assassin, so getting vision from him is really bad. And Diana is going for the tank build probably. Yes, it is. There's a Bummy Cinder there.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like she's gonna have an easier time playing into the Rengar when she actually goes for a tank build, because yeah, she's gonna have the dueling power when she actually gets the Nashor suit. She's gonna be able to fight like prolonged fights against him, which the Rengar doesn't really want to do that, considering his short time bursts and considering that he just straight up kills squishes.
Yes, and we can see that EAV is already AEV is already getting breaks because the pressure they have, they can just deal with the fights right now. Even with ultimates, they can't fight right now. They're really strong right now. FL's got 1 kill. They just have to respect the Drakes right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. They've got to be fairly respectful around that bot side overall. You still have that Severe on bot lane. She does require some items to be relevant. Like, she's not all that bad when she gets her first item, Kraken Slayer, but she's not as strong as the Philios overall. You've got to keep in mind that there is a Mumu for the setup. He can disrupt the whole fights overall. The Sylas doesn't really do all that much during the early phases. Yeah, he's got damage, but it's not as strong as the Akali, and Akali can just if she can just straight up get into the face of the Sivir, it's gonna be so much such a hard way to actually get out of. Like, it's gonna be so hard to actually get out of right there. We do see that Diana.
There's a really engage from Amumu there. They got double kill.
Yeah,
And
they
Riven
do end up
TP is going
trading,
for the
but the
cleanup.
Riven is a fairly good position. She still hasn't used her ulti. She's probably gonna end up getting 2 kills for herself. This is so good for the Riven to get her steam rolling, and she's actually gonna get some place for herself as well if she doesn't opt out to go back. But instead, we do see the Sivir actually going towards the top side, which is gonna be huge for this Riven. She's gonna get such a huge lead from this, but instead she actually decides to go back, which is kind of weird for me. But we might see a swap for the Riven. Actually, she's going back top lane for some reason. Okay, somewhat weird lane assignments right here, but they probably have something in mind right now. They're probably trying to pick off the. Okay, never mind. I'm thinking way too much. I've gotta stop.
That was a real in my it's fine. I think in my opinion was a really good call by ORO because the Gragas always stopped the Riven, but Riven was too far away from the Gragas to stop the ECP, and just they knew they're gonna get the Dove there because Amumu is just really strong on dives because the ultimate is so massive, and sure Sivir can do it, but
We
if
do
she's
see
there,
trades on top lane already. The Gragas doesn't really have a flash right there. They do have enough tanky stats to keep diving, but they were just a little bit short enough from getting that kill. But in the end, AEV end up getting double kill for bot lane again. They're having such a hard time playing with this bot lane over and over. Second game around where Unfinished is just straight up getting punished over and over.
right now we have to give credits to AAV. They are playing really well on bot side, and we can't even talk about 2 plays because on 1 play on top side and under the bot side. We have to say that EAV, ADC, and support are really good right now. They are always, even the last game they got the advantage. Right now they are getting the advantage again. They can probably be the carries on this game.
Yeah, you've got to keep in mind that this Amumu has been putting up way too much pressure on this bot side, and the Riven is in a fairly decent position right now, but the Silas is already fairly low. The Riven is already eyeballing the Amumu, but the Amumu manages to live by just a little bit. Akali is in a fairly bad position, and Silas can probably manage to get this kill for himself, and actually it ends up in the pocket of Riven right there. And this actually ends up backfiring for AEV. You gotta keep in mind that this that this Ringer is actually in a fairly bad position right now, but he manages to blast Gone out of that bad situation right there. The Filius ends up getting a plate for himself, if I'm not mistaken, from that whole
Yes, he got
fiasco.
one. Yeah, was really was kind of a disaster for the ORO, but we have to was kind of a disaster there. But was really well played by Silas. Silas somehow escaped from that situation with the Akali ultimate, and they even got 2 kills there. They got the Akali death and they got the Amumu death there. Was a
Yeah,
2
for
for
sure.
0. Was a 2 for 0. So let's see right now how gonna be the Drakes, because Rengar already has 1 item. Riven is 4-0 right now. Riven is really dangerous. But
I feel like
let's see how the team's gonna play out, because sure they have the Gragas and the Amumu, but it's still not a 1v5 fight, it's a 5v5. It all
Yeah,
depends
but
on...
you've got to keep in mind that Amumu actually has his ultimate on cooldown right around this next team fight, so they've got to be slightly careful to how they actually approach the team fights, but they already have like good river position. Are ORO actually gonna try to answer to this this whole dragon? We already see the Silas in a fairly weird position, like the Akali
We
is
see
already
insane
trading
from
with him.
Diana.
They already
There's a
see
insane engage from Diana,
but
the Amumu is on
Amumu
yes.
has ulti up in a little bit. He can probably do a lot of disruption in that whole fight, but Riven actually picks up the whole kill. Amumu is trying to do a lot of stuff there, but the Gragas actually ends up getting a kill for themselves. But I feel like ORO actually got a lot of this whole weird dragon fight for some reason. I'm not sure whether just straight up splitting the Akali from the backline was the right answer. She probably could have done a lot, even though the Silas was flanking. I'm not sure whether he could have done enough. I feel like the fight would have been over before the Silas even got into that whole fight.
Now we're getting the opposite situation there. ORO was really far away right now, because somehow that Riven kills the Aphelios there. That should never happen. Like, they got the pussy, but we are so split up in that fight. Like, Gragas and Akali appear so late for the fights because they are dealing with Silas. And Silas is not that much a problem, but the problem is Riven. They have to focus her.
But we do see AEV already in a position to start up this second Herald for themselves. Like, oh, the Filius is coming to aid his team right there as well. And it seems like ORO is just straight up gonna leave it for the opponents. They've been giving up way too much neutral objectives for AEV.
Right now it's only because right now, for example, as you can see, Diana finished her first item right now. He finished the Sunfire, and we have to keep in mind, because Diana was behind, was on base, so they couldn't fight there, and they still have the ultimates. Because right now AAV has less kills, but he has more gold on there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Oh, we see a
do see
Gragas, a Braum fight there.
yeah, fairly.
There's a Mumu ult on 3 of them. To do this
Really
work.
good engage from the Brom, but we do see engage from the Diana. She actually manages to ulti the Aphelios, but can they actually manage to get this whole fight? They do end up that it ends up backfiring completely right there, and this is actually gonna be a 3 kill for nothing. They do end up overextending a lot into the backline, and it just straight up ends up backfiring for ORO.
Yes, it was a really big fight for EAV, because right now that Akali just makes sure that Braum and Sivri couldn't stand up on the fight, because if you can see, the fight was always 3v2 on the backside, because it was Riven and Diana versus
we do see TP from the Riven right now. She's in a fairly good position to actually play aggressive there, and she's actually gonna get 3 kills back for ORO right there. The Rengar is already eyeballing the Riven, but he actually doing enough. He does a lot of damage and actually ends up getting 1 kill back for their team as well. I mean, another kill rather, considering that the Sylas died as well right there. But overall, you've got to keep in mind that this actually gives some freedom for the Sivir to start getting turrets, and she did get 3 kills overall in those fights, so I don't feel like it was all that bad, considering that she does require those items to start being useful. And I feel like the moment she actually gets PD, she's probably gonna start doing a fair amount of damage, so it's gonna be fairly okay for her.
That's actually really interesting, because sure, they got to fights, but right now they are just pushing. There's no need for that, in my opinion. They are just trading gold right now because they want to, because they saw the opportunity. You saw the TP. They're just going and straight up getting some gold back from that fight they lost. We have to see how gonna be this rake now, because
Yeah, but the biggest problem is that in all of these fights, even though it's been back and forth, AV has been getting all of the objectives for themselves. Like, they've been getting Drakes, they've been getting turrets. Like, I feel like they're in a pretty good position right now to keep steamrolling from this whole state.
yes, they are. This fight's gonna be all depends. Sure, they're gonna play, but remember, Felix has already 2 items and a half, almost the 3rd one.
Yeah,
Like,
for
it's
sure.
really strong, and Rengar gonna be a massive pain to deal for ORO, because sure, he can jump but dies again. But if Ray can press R, they can't just walk up. They have to be
They're
careful
already
about him.
looking for a potential pick. Are they gonna see somebody? Okay, the Rengar is already jumping there, but I don't think he has enough information to keep playing aggressive. You gotta keep in mind that the Brom can actually just straight up jump back to the Sivir and completely disengage. But on the other hand, are they actually looking to fight this Drake? Like, we gotta keep in mind that the Sylas is somewhat late to this whole Drake fight, so we do see them completely giving it up. But the Dan actually jumped into the pit, so she was actually forced to flash out, which might make it slightly harder for her to actually engage into the Aphelios. But we do see them going back to 5-on-5 mid lane for some reason. You gotta keep in mind that you can't be playing like this the whole time, considering that the most of your lead is actually in the Riven. So, okay,
Wait,
we
with
already see a
engage?
fairly good position from the Sylas. He ends up picking off the Aphelios, but the Aphelios is still alive. He almost ends up killing the Sylas, but he's doing so much damage. He already kills the Sivir. He's still alive. Actually, never mind. He just died, but it's such a close fight. So back and forward, they almost end up completely killing them off, and it ends up into a 1-1 in the end. The Diana is still alive, but I'm not sure whether she's gonna be able to live off. Okay, never mind. I don't feel like there was any way from the Akali to actually get close to the Diana, so she actually just straight up decides to go back and get some more farm for herself, potentially Skull Crab. Okay, she doesn't like. Okay, she's not eating shrimps. It's fine.
Was such a massive fight. Like, we saw a really huge engage from Sylas with the Amumu ultimate. Then Gragas just disengaged everyone from there. Like, we saw a lot of misses too. For example, we saw Felix missing 4 people in a straight line. Akali missed a lot of missed the second ultimate on Sylas. Like, this fight could, if they hit their both ultimates of Akali and Felix, could be just game of Baron and straight up easy snowball game. But they missed a lot of ultimates there, and ORO just capitalized on that.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest problem was that the Aphelios didn't die straight away on the initial engage. Like, there
Yes.
was some damage lacking from ORO in order to actually execute him, and if he died there, it would have been just straight up ORO running over AEV. And it's really interesting to me that ORO just straight up manages to find these scenarios, was seeing that they are actually like
Yes, the
4k
Rengar
down,
ultimate.
and okay, this Rengar just straight up deleted the Riven.
Yeah, like I said, Rengar right now has full lethality so right now, because Riven is just a bit of MR of X Rengar and Ionius, Rengar right now just deletes him because he wants to. Because he has less Whisper, we have Eclipse, there's already like what, 24% armor penetration, and Rengar just have high damage, high DPS, so Riven just can't deal with him. If Riven gets one shot, it's over, but if he doesn't one shot, Riven can always come back, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
feel like
like,
this Rengar is just straight up gonna be shadowing the Akali for the majority of this game. Considering the state, I don't feel like this Akali is gonna die all that much, and I feel like she's gonna be getting only stronger and stronger. And despite the Riven actually having like the 6 drinker, I don't think that she's gonna be able to hold her off for a lot longer right now.
we probably can see a pick off here? No, we don't. Like you said, like Riven can be fed, but the AEV team has a lot of counterplay to her. They have the Gragas, they have the Amumu, and
But there are some things we are not holding into account. This Akali actually has about 80 farm advantage over the Silas, and she's Flame Horizoning the Riven.
yeah, basically because like the gold lead, like we can see that right now they are the similar kills. They have 16, both teams have 16 kills.
Okay, they are already trying to do some damage to the Akali, but it's not enough, and for some reason they're trying to get this first turret on mid lane. They're trying so hard, they almost drop solo right there. If there was somebody from AEV to actually answer to that, it probably would have ended up into a disaster. But we do see the Akali trying to buy so much time for the mid lane turret to drop, but this might actually completely backfire for ORO if they don't get the recall timers they need right there, because they're gonna lose up on the setup for this last Soul Drake for AEV. Like, they've got to be really careful. This Amumu is in a fairly good position. And
Wait,
they already
Tiana
see
gonna
a
engage
jump
on two
from
of
the
them?
Diana actually engages on the Aphelios. Aphelios is dropping fairly low. Can the Silas actually manage to pick him up? Aphelios is still alive. He just ends up dying right there. Akali is wreaking havoc right now. She's doing a lot of damage. You gotta keep in mind that the Diana is still alive, but she's not really doing all that much. Akali gets another kill, and this is a disaster scenario for ORO. AEV actually get another Drake for themselves. This is gonna be a soul. This is gonna be a soul for AEV. They can even potentially decide to go for this Baron right now, considering the death timers. But the biggest problem is they don't actually have the Aphelios up, so I'm not sure whether they're gonna go for it, considering that it's gonna take them a long time to actually get it. And this is Duma Drake Soul for AEV. They're making a statement right now.
I really don't know how they're gonna come back. Like, I think the game is already over, to be honest. Like, Ocean Soul here is actually massive because Ori is playing like trying to burst fights, and the moment you see the burst over, they just lose the fights. They, besides Riven, CV is really behind now to do damage, and Ocean Soul just grants them the advantage. They can just force Baron right now if they want. Like, the game, the EAV show really good dominance this game. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
for sure. I feel like AV can just straight up completely control the top side of the map. If ORO actually decides to get into their top side jungle, I feel like they're just straight up gonna die. Considering that AV actually has Rengar actually
We see a
manages
pick off.
to
We're gonna see
to
a 4-man
blow
ultimate.
them up.
4-man, they're gonna
Okay,
be a dive.
they're in
There's
a-
gonna be a dive.
They managed to get off the Brom in a fairly bad position. The Akali actually does a lot of damage in the backline. She gets the Sivir in the end. She's still up and fighting. She kills the Diana as well. She does so much, and this is a complete ace for AEV.
Was a really win fight there. Gragas infected Diana, and Amumu did a 4-man ultimate or a 5-man ultimate there. It was a really nice dive right there because the Ocean Soul just gives the opportunity to do this. Like, the regen is so massive there, and they have the tankiness there right now. It was a really well played by EV. They could actually finish the game if they want to right now, but they decide to go for just a safer option for the Baron because they want now they just want to finish the game probably. They got the gold. For example, look, Aphelios already got their 4th item. That is the Infinity Edge. She gonna do a massive damage right now. Rengador, the 3rd one, that's the LDR. And Amumu already brought the Night Evo, so gonna be a really pain to kill that Aphelios. Besides, they have Ocean Soul, they have Night's Vow, they have the Lockheads and the Amumu ultimate. This is gonna be impossible to kill the Aphelios. Only if he plays poorly.
Now we already see the CAV completely taking over the opposing topside jungle. They are not really letting the opponents get anything from their jungle at all. They're completely controlling the map right now, and they're not even letting ORO breathe whatsoever. We see the Aphelios heading towards the top side. He's gonna fix the wave and potentially go for that second tier turret on top lane. Mumu is constantly hovering back and forward, just straight up looking for potential picks. Like, I feel like this Sakali is so hard to actually deal with. Right now, she's just straight up unkillable. I feel like she can disrupt the teamfights for such a long time.
Yes, because she has already look. She has Zonius. She has 2 items with HP. That's the Proto Belt, Rocket Belt, and the Shadow Flame, and the Ocean Drake. So like she can
We
stop
already
so
see
much.
engage from the Mumu. He ends up picking up the series. Takali actually follows up, and this is complete disaster for ORO. I'm not sure whether they're gonna come back from this, as this is straight up a 2-0 for AEV, and they're straight up going into the finals with a completely dominant fashion right now.
They just show no mercy on Oro right now. Like they just won the game. Like they just try to die 5 man and just they do it a clean ace and a clean victory from EAV. They just show to finals to the next the opponent team. They want this win. They really want this win.
Yeah,
Uh,
I feel like this is the complete opposite of what happened for Oro the previous games. Completely opposite. They were on the receiving end this time. Yeah, they did have the top lane just straight up playing fairly well during the early game, but it wasn't enough. It completely wasn't enough. Like, their bot lane was constantly under pressure. They were behind most of the time. They weren't getting any resources. They weren't getting any jungle pressure whatsoever. And it was a really hard game for Order to just straight up play through, because once they got into that mid game, it was impossible. Like, overall, this Gragas doesn't really require all that much resources. The what was the previous champion for top lane on AEV? It was,
it
what
was
was it?
Mordekaiser versus
Okay, yeah,
Olaf. Yeah, it was
yeah,
Mordekaiser versus Olaf.
yeah. Even though the Mordekaiser was somewhat behind, he still managed to find ways back into the game, considering how further up the other side of the map was. So, yeah, I feel like top lane has mostly been a fairly hard lane to transition leads from overall. Yeah. And it hasn't really paid off all that much for Oro in these past 2 games.
What's your opinion about the the MVP of this game? I think like overall the team plays really well, but in my opinion the MVP should be or the Felius or the Rengar. I don't know. I think Rengar doesn't look like it, but he did really well this game.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, Overall, I would say that the Aphelios, yeah, pretty much was the MVP. I feel like both games he played phenomenally. I I'm gonna give it to the AD carry for
Yeah,
AEV.
he did both games really well. Last game he almost solo carried the game, and this game he just showed that he wants to be the dominant one and just saying I'm the better DC, just simple as that.
Yeah, for sure. He was just straight up playing phenomenal in both these games. Even though he had a fairly hard position in the second game overall in order to uh, just straight up constantly do damage, considering that there was so much engaged from Oro, but he was just playing too well. He he was just playing too well. I've got nothing to
The team
say.
just played to him. Team just played to him. They have a lot of counterplay to that engage, so it was
Yeah,
really well played by the team, but Felix played really well for that.
yeah. I feel like AEV have been playing fairly patient with what they had, and I really like the way they actually approach the games.
Yes. So I guess basically that's it. We're gonna have to see who gonna be versus the AV for the next game. Uh, it's gonna be I've let me see gonna be the for tomorrow. So we're gonna be here again, streaming again the games to see if they're gonna be the same dominance from AEV or from the other team.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the finals for sure. So, what's your pick for the finals, by the way?
Well,
Who are you expecting?
from what I see this game, like of course it's AEV in my opinion, but I didn't see the other games, so I can't like it's kind of unfair.
Oh, okay. So,
Okay.
actually, I apologize. So, apparently, the other semifinal is tomorrow, so we don't really have a finalist right now. But yeah, I'm very curious to how the other side of the semifinals are actually gonna go. So yeah, I really like how AV actually played this best of three out. So I'm really curious to um what we are gonna get from the other semifinal as well.
Yes. So we have to wait for tomorrow, but like we said, like this game, the first game was was a rough game, but this one was just a clean win. So let's see if the games of tomorrow are going to be the same.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, with that, we are gonna end the stream, guys, and we are gonna see you tomorrow at the exactly same time, and we are gonna be witnessing the other side of the semifinal, and we are gonna get our uh last finalists for ourselves. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Hey everyone, and welcome to HOFL 2022, your favorite League of Legends tournament. The month-long event will have teams showcase their power through 2 divisions, crowning 2 HOFL champions. Let's take a closer look at this year's tournament format. Teams are divided by pools depending on their overall ELO rating. Each pool will be drafted into 2 groups. For more information on the seeding system, please head over to the HOFL's website. During the group stage, teams will play against each other in single round robin within their group. The top 3 teams will be drawn into the second stage, while those finishing 4th and 5th will get one last shot to progress by facing each other in a best of 3 series. Knockouts will see the remaining 8 teams fight through a single elimination bracket consisting of best of 3 matches, fighting for their spot in the finals. Hey, we're excited to have you with us. Now, the real question is, will you go the distance? Don't forget, all informations will also be available on our website and Discord server.